Alright everyone, it's time for the libertarian solution to our crime problem. Crime has been at near record low levels, like as low as it was in the 60s, for quite a few years now. It was basically in the wake of the advent of public internet and the collapse of the USSR, both in 97 by the way, and then the repeal of the assault rifle ban, the mass expansion of gun ownership in the United States. All of these things sort of converged in the middle of the 2000s. We were at peak gun crime, peak violent crime, and if you look at charts from the FBI over the next 10 years, it plummets. It bottoms out. Recently, it has risen. This is due to a plethora of different reasons. Number one, I would argue, would be the creeping increase of gun control in certain states, in certain cities. Gang violence is certainly the biggest proportion of most of the violent crime in those urban areas. Social alienation and economic problems then would form part of that as well. The problem is that you've got people that are chronically underpaid. You've got people who end up, in some cases, turning to petty crime, and you've got a prison pipeline sort of system where, under the tough-on-crime laws passed by people like Harris and Biden, if you get caught with the joint, you go into the clink, you come out, you've got something on your record, you can't get a job, so then you end up, having to sell weed in order to live, essentially. A few strikes later, and you end up in a high-security facility for 10 years without having committed any real crime. What we should do to reform this, to empty out the prisons, to take care of crime, to prioritize crimes that are actually real and legitimate, like there's an actual victim. What we should do is legalize all victimless crimes in name only, and focus on things like rioting. Focus on arsonists and murderers and rapists, people who have actually victimized a person or a legitimate place or thing. Animal abusers, child molesters, stuff like that. Focus on those classes of people. People that have actually done something wrong. Ignore the weed heads. Yes, I even think we should ignore small-time drug dealers. I don't care. It doesn't matter. A black market is just a free market that's been made illegal anyway, or regulated into a dubious status by excessive taxation or fees or regulations. That's all the black market is. People will smoke weed. People will shoot heroin. People will smoke crack. It's just going to happen. It shouldn't be illegal. As long as they're not like trying to sell it to little kids or something like that, who cares? I don't even care if someone with a packet of heroin is selling in a back alley. There shouldn't be any impetus for them to do so. And by the way, when I talk about the drug war and ending it, I'm not one of those idiot leftists that just wants to smoke weed, and so I say, well, yeah, just tax it a little and use them taxes to plant more trees. Now, smoke trees to plant trees. The tree-to-tree pipeline. No, I just say decriminalize them and don't tax them. They shouldn't be regulated. Unless it's a commercial sale. If you have, like, Drug Incorporated or something, selling over-the-counter heroin and stuff like that, then, of course, there are certain standards that apply. But if someone wants to grow a bed of poppies and make their own, who fucking gives a shit? Really, keeping that person out of prison, even if they're strung out, they're going to be more of a helpful member of society. And when you put someone in prison, you have to pay for them, and it becomes a big problem. What we should do, therefore, is, for instance, decriminalize all drugs. Small-time petty crime, public intoxication that hasn't resulted in any other crime, public urination or something like that. Who gives a fucking shit? Someone's in an alley, they gotta take a whiz, they had one too many, they decide to take a piss. They don't really need to be thrown in jail at great taxpayer expense. Maybe give them a fine. That's the other thing. You can just hand out small fines for small infractions and keep people out of prison, make a few bucks off of it. For legitimate crimes, you should double the sentencing. And yeah, you should crack down, you should be draconian when it comes to those crimes. It's the whole purpose of the state. The state, properly incepted, exists only to prevent victimization. It fields a military to prevent external victimization. It fields police and courts to prevent internal victimization. In the US, it's a little bit complex. It's actually a little bit novel because the widespread ownership of arms, if you have a society in which you had, for instance, nationwide stand your ground and castle doctrine, those cops are only going to have half as many calls to actually come into that are significant, because much of the time the crime won't happen if there's too much risk. The criminal doesn't want to mug the person who's clearly carrying the firearm. They value their life. That's, they're involved in crime to keep themselves alive. They're probably trying to put food on the table half the time. Literally, they're going to be less inclined to do that. It's harder to be a burglar in a society where everyone has a shotgun. And then the other half of the time, a lot of the times people will take care of it themselves. So instead of having to go to an active shooter situation, the cop just has to come and do a write-up about a burglar that got shot coming in a window. It's a lot safer for the officer. Again, that person doesn't have to be in prison because they're dead. It's great. It's much cheaper. It's also, I believe, more merciful because you're taking... You could empty out 30-40% of all the people in prison today. Some of the people that have been in even higher security facilities, by the way, the reason that they committed more significant crimes is because of the prison pipeline of Kamala Harris and Biden cracking down on small-time offenders. They went into jail at first for, again, simple drug possession, petty larceny, something that's not particularly significant, something that should result in either no punishment or a fine, or community service, restitution of some sort, instead of being thrown in jail for years at enormous amounts of expense. They did that a couple of times, and under sentencing laws that were designed by idiots, all of a sudden they were treated as a high-grade felon. In some cases, they moved on to felonious crimes, specifically because of the problems attendant with having a criminal record, albeit one that was minor to begin with. Oh my God, this dude got busted selling a little cocaine. Well, I don't want to hire them, so they can't get hired because they got something on their record, and then they turn to worse crimes. And we've made the situation, society has created the situation by inverting what should be the criminal reality. The reality should be you crack down on the significant criminals, you try to prevent the lesser criminals from, in some cases, they're not really criminals at all, insofar as there's a victim, but it's not a significant thing. Again, community service, restitution, civil court stuff, simple fines. Those things don't require nearly as many resources, nearly as much time. They don't ruin lives. That shouldn't result in a long-term record anyway. Why aren't minor crimes expunged automatically after a short period? Simple drug possession. All of those records should be expunged. We have, by the way, I take so much exception to Biden and Harris putting as part of their platform, we're going to legalize marijuana and expunge all pot-related drug records. You're the ones that put half of these people's records in existence in the first place with your tough on crime laws. Half the time, Biden and Harris uniquely as a team are collectively responsible for ruining hundreds of thousands of lives, and now they have the audacity to use it to try to get votes to say that they're going to end part of the drug war. And by the way, why is it that all of these sellout losers are always fixated on marijuana? It's because marijuana can actually be grown in the U.S. You want to know why they want to legalize pot, but they don't want to legalize cocaine? Because it's harder to grow coca plants in the United States climate. That's really the only reason. They don't care if you snort coke, by the way, as long as the CIA is getting its proper cut. Who do you think lets the drugs in the country half the time anyway? Other than the marijuana, which increasingly, again, comes domestically. Well, the United States doesn't lose money if it's homegrown. Why do you think tobacco and alcohol have remained legal and simply regulated and taxed into all oblivion? By the way, we shouldn't even be taxing those things. Just decriminalize them. Who cares if someone wants to drink? Who cares if someone wants to smoke? Safety regulations apply for commercial sales. For someone who just, it's like right now, if you set up a home distilling system, there are certain regulations and taxations that may apply, and there's some wiggle room and there's some discretion, but by and large, if you're brewing alcohol and you try to sell it to your neighbors, you get put in federal prison. Why? They voluntarily bought it. They know it's coming from a non-commercial source that does not guarantee the highest lab-grade quality of the final product. If you get wood alcohol poisoning, isn't it your own fucking goddamn fault? And if you don't think it's your fault if you've been misled, that's a civil court issue. You shouldn't go to jail. You should get sued by the victim. There's the whole fucking point. It's a lot cheaper to do it that way. And also, there are other crimes that are non-crimes. Public intoxication should not be considered a crime. If a person walks down the street and they're staggering around, as long as they're not committing any victimization, they shouldn't be considered a criminal. The fact that they're more likely to commit a crime because they're inebriated shouldn't matter. That's pre-crime. It's funny when people on the right they will ignore that particular issue. They'll say, well, I don't believe in pre-crime. These red flag laws are a big problem. Yes, they are. They're also unconstitutional. But you agree with taking someone and putting them in jail because they happen to have 3 beers instead of 2 and then walk down the street and a cop smelled their breath? That's pre-crime. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just publicly intoxicated, which, by the way, can be fun and is not illegal in most civilized countries. Unless you're disorderly. Unless you start swearing at people and throwing trash bins around and stuff like that. Okay, well then you're creating a victim. You're creating your public nuisance or something. It's terrible that we have so many people variously in jails and prisons who really don't deserve to be there. Like something like a third of the prison population shouldn't even have a criminal record. Think about it that way in society. We've got more people per capita locked up in jail than China does. I don't think that that's particularly acceptable. I think that that's absolutely preposterous. Of course, in China, a lot of times it's because they just kill them or they put them in the salt quarry and they say, okay, you're mining rocks for the next 10 years. No, you're not in prison, but you're not allowed to leave or something. It's sort of an unofficial prison system, but there's still a differential there. And of course, in North Korea, it doesn't really apply because execution is quite common. There's other like concentration camp sort of shit going on there. Commies love slavery. They're all mind slaves already, so it comes naturally to them. That's about all. Peace out.